your past defines you or it doesn't define you. It's entirely up to you. We're all built of strong stuff. It just depends how much of that you want to use and how much you just want to be defined by what's happened. It's the past for a reason. You can drag it into the present and even the future with you, or you can just leave it where it was.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Inspired By with me, your host, Manjeet Nijjar. This time I've actually got a lady with me who I met back in 1994. A long time ago, some of you might think, but for me it only seems like yesterday. And I met this lady who was my supervisor. I used to work for an organisation which at the time when I joined was called United Artists, and became Tracie Wlikes, and now you'll know it all as Virgin Media. And I find this lady so inspirational because of what she went through in her life, what she's been through since, and even up till recently, she's had some health issues and challenges and so on. She's raised 2 beautiful kids and her nephew as well. So 3 kids, 2 daughters. Christopher, her nephew, so you know she's involved in everything. So she's a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a daughter, she's a sister, she's a friend. To me, she's somebody really special. She inspired me to continue doing what I'm doing, and literally set me on the road that I'm on now. And I'm able to talk to you about all of this. So she saw something in me that I didn't see, which I find inspiring, where somebody else sees something in you and they can draw it out you, and they can kind of guide you. They don't push you in a certain direction, but they guide you. So the person I'm talking about is actually my dear friend. I love her to bits. Tracie Wlikes. Hi Tracie, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Manjeet. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honoured.
Oh, it's lovely of you to be here. I really, really appreciate you being here. Now, a lot of people know you. I mean, going back to the old days when we first met back at Tracie Wlikes, we used to have so many names for you. I know you know them all. Twilksbird was one of them.
Yeah, I remember that one.
There was one of your sayings as well that still rings. I don't like brown cars, but I like brown cake. It's the way you said it, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, I won't do it now because it's a bit common. But yeah, it was a TV programme. I can't remember what it was called now.
Yeah, we used to have such a laugh. We really, really did. I mean, you know, that was the Tracie that was at work. But you're still the same Tracie as work you are at home, but obviously at home people will see you differently. So can you fill us in about your early years, you know, Tracie the child, before you got to where you are, kind of thing?
As a kid, I think I was always the entertainment value. I was very rotund. I had a cow's lick. I was a nightmare. I was just eating coal and spiders, and I was just a nightmare. I think my mum gave up trying to make me look like a girl. I just always looked like a homeless person. And yeah, I just fell into the room with my lump of coal or whatever it was I was eating at the time, just to be told, you know, can you just kindly just go away? I was a bit of a pain, but at the same time, I don't think I was ever naughty. I was just a pain more than anything else. But the most important thing growing up, apart from my family, was always my friends. Always had a very big social circle, and they always were my life. And not necessarily just girls, boys, whatever. Didn't matter colour, creed, religion. I don't care who they are, so long as they're kind. And a lot of those friends are still with me now. I mean, my eldest friend, we've been friends since we were 4. So 52 years of friendship, and we are still as close, if not closer.
You've got friendships that go back to when you were 4 years old to where you are now. So it just shows that if you put the work into those relationships, that they're going to remain strong. Yeah. And it will take you through to whatever you need to go through.
And I know people say, you know, it doesn't matter whether you speak once every 5 years or whatever. And there are relationships like that. But at the end of the day, if you want true friends, and they need to know that you are there morning, noon and night. And whether it's just a text message every now and again, or a drop a message on Facebook, anything, even just liking their posts on Facebook, Instagram or whatever, people need to know that you are still there, you're still following them and all that. Just being there isn't actually enough. You do need to let people know that you're there. And I do put a lot of work into making friends know that I'm there.
I totally agree with you on that one, because you and I mean, we've known each other since 1994. we've never really lost touch. I know. We've never really lost touch. We've always, through social media and so on, and, you know, liking each other's posts, just like you said. So to take you from childhood to kind of like, you know, your children and so on, and your marriage and so on, what are you happy to share with them?
I don't hide anything. I'm a pretty open book, and I don't have any regrets ever. Got married at 18 to a childhood sweetheart that my mum and dad absolutely detested. Hence why I got married at 18, because I got married on my birthday, because it was the first date that I could actually get married without their permission. So I was trying to be a rebel. I wasn't very good at it. But yeah, so I got married. That lasted as long as my mum and dad said it would. Heartbeat, and it was over. But I had a beautiful daughter when I was 18, Kerry, she's just amazing. She's amazing. Looked after my nephew at the same sort of age. So Kerry was about 3 months, so Christopher was about 5 months at the time when I took him in, and so he's sort of been with me ever since. He's my nephew, but he's more like Kerry's twin brother, really. And he lives in Bristol now, so I don't see so much of him, but he's got a beautiful daughter. He's married to a lovely girl. That's all fine. And then I had another daughter at 21, Chelsea. They're just amazing kids. The marriage didn't work out. Lived in a police safe house for a while. It was pretty rough. The Royal Courts of Justice was my home for quite a few years. He got charged with attempted murder at one stage. He was quite aggressive, violent, and that's why the marriage broke up. Quite a few injuries and stories later, but it all works out in the end. Everything that happens makes you a stronger person. I'm the most positive person you could wish to meet, and nothing gets me down. Nothing bothers me. If I can change it, if something bothers me and I can change it, then change it. If I can't change it, then just get on with it. It is what it is. Yeah, and that's how I've gone through life.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been a shoulder for me to cry on, you know, because when my first marriage broke down, which is why I moved to London, you know, and then I met you through work, there was those similarities between the two of us, because my first marriage wasn't the best marriage in the world. There was physical, mental, emotional abuse as well. So that we had some similarities. So it was so nice to be able to talk to somebody else who had been through something similar and come out the other side. So for me, looking at what you'd achieved, it was like, well, if Tracie can do it, then
anyone can do it.
Not so much anyone, but if you can do it, then you put work, and it's not like you woke up one day and that's it, it's all over. You put the work into it, and I could see that. So
I think it's a choice. It's a life choice. Your past defines you, or it doesn't define you. It's entirely up to you. We're all built of strong stuff. It just depends how much of that you want to use and how much you just want to be defined by what's happened. It's the past for a reason. You can drag it into the present and even the future with you, or you can just leave it where it was. It's entirely up to each individual person. It's not a good experience for anyone, that type of thing. So leave it where it is. Why do you want to take it with you? It's pointless. It's rubbish, and it's not something you carry.
Exactly. It's like carrying a sack on your shoulders, or a rucksack that you keep filling up with all this stuff, and you never really empty it.
Yeah.
If you don't empty it, it weighs you down.
It does. And also it's kind of like a lot of people use it as a reason for who they are today. And it should be a reason for who you're not today. Yeah. And I think it's very much a case of, you either let it define you, or you just step over it and you define yourself. And that's what I've always done. It's not me, it's what happened many moons ago. That's it.
Because there's a positive and a negative in every situation. And until you see that, until you can find that balance in that situation, and you just hang on to what you're presuming, what your perception is, it was all negative. Actually, it couldn't have been all negative, because you got beautiful kids out of it and so on, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and
it's really hard, but I listen to some people who've been through the same sort of thing as us, and it's like, oh, when this happened, that's why I do this and that's why I do that. No, it's not. You do it because you choose to. You don't have to do it like that. You can do it a different way. You can do it however you want. You can be who you want to be, to an extent. You know, we are all different, but you can be who you want to be. And life is what it is. And I've always been a bit of a party goer. Do love to go out with my mates and work. Still do now, even at my age. Maybe not today, but when this coronavirus thing's over, we'll be back out again. But yeah, and it was at a club that I met Mark as well. So, and I've been with Mark now for 30 years.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's
brilliant.
A lovely guy.
And the thing is with Mark is he's just a genuine guy. He just gets on and does what he does. He's been brilliant with the kids right the way through. And now, sadly, he's not so good with the grandchildren. I mean, the kids he was pretty strict with. The grandchildren walk all over him. He is like
grandparents, so that's grandparents generally.
Yeah, but he's like a 5-year-old. He goes out there and he plays skipping with them. He does assault courses for them. If they say, "Grumpy, can you do?" his answer is yes. Whereas me, I'm like, no. If I get on the floor, I'm never getting up again. So no, not happening. And no, I'm not riding around the room with you on my back. But he will. He will do whatever it is they want. So we're very different in that. I'm now the strict one. I mean, I've always been strict, actually. I've always been strict with the kids, very strict. But with the grandchildren, I'm just as strict, which normally people aren't. When they get the grandchildren, they're normally soft as soap. And that's what he is. He's just as soft as soap. I mean, they absolutely adore him. But they also take absolute liberties. Absolute liberties. I'm like, no, not happening. And he's like, oh, yeah, cool, it's all right then.
But again, there's a balance, isn't there? You balance each other out. Where he's soft with them, you're slightly stricter with them to give that balance to them. I mean, your health, you know, over the years, again, it's another thing that I find quite inspirational about you, that you've had cancer and recently you had another health scare as well. The way you've battled your way through those and come out the other end, you're still Tracie. You're not carrying around, oh, I've had cancer, therefore. You know, how did the cancer, though, impact you and your family?
It impacted my family more, I think. Personally speaking, it had absolutely no right to come and invade this body. I did not invite it. It wasn't paying rent, and it had no right to be there, and it wasn't staying there. Sorry.
What cancer it was, Tracie? Can you tell me?
Bowel cancer, which was very, very unusual because of my age. And also because I'm female, it's actually a lot more common in men, and it's a lot more common in people over 70, and it's also a lot more common with anyone who's had it in their family, which I haven't. I've had a lot of cancer in my family, but not bowel cancer. So it was a big shock, and it was a year and a half undiagnosed because the new diagnosis from my doctor was, oh, you haven't lost any weight, so it's not cancer, which is the most ridiculous diagnosis I've ever heard in my life. But this was backwards and forwards for a year and a half, and also a very good friend of mine that was battering me to keep going back to the doctors, and I was kind of like, you're not a doctor, you know nothing. They've told me it's not cancer, so it's not cancer. And a year and a half later it turned out it was cancer. But yeah, I went to Mayday Hospital, and the NHS were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And you have a choice. It's a bit weird, actually. You have a choice now. You can go on what they call a fast track scheme. So you have an operation and you've got a fast track scheme, or you can just be a normal patient. But if you've got a fast track scheme, the idea is that they get you out of hospital, get you out of bed, get you walking, get you climbing stairs, get you doing everything far quicker.
That's you down to the T, though, isn't it?
I've heard of it. Yeah, you can fast track yourself out of hospital. And yeah, that's what we did. And the physios and everything were amazing. So yeah, the fast track scheme worked. But for me, it was very much, so long as I've got a very positive attitude on the cancer, then no one around me can be any different. You can't, you know, if I'm saying, oh, it's fine, it's going to be fine, they can't sit there going, yeah, but you might die. No one's going to say that to you. So it's much easier with a positive attitude. It's much easier for everyone else. But I think it was hard on the kids. But it was, I mean, I was back at work in 5 weeks from the operation. And yeah, all good. I'm on 4 years clear now at the moment. And like I say, it wasn't invited the first time. It's certainly not going to be invited a second time. And that was the end of that. But yeah, it's just, again, it's another thing. It's my glass is never half empty or half full. I've got a really nice refillable cup, and that's the way my life is. And it's cancer. Do you know, I would much rather, and this sounds really ridiculous, I would much rather have had and gone through what I went through than some of these poor people that go through life with things like colitis or Crohn's disease. And you know, there's some awful life-changing diseases out there that have no cure. So people don't say, oh my god, you're suffering from Crohn's disease. like they would if you were suffering from cancer, and yet that's actually worse in a lot of situations. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are suffering from life-changing diseases that are awful, and there's nothing they can do, but they don't get the sympathy that a cancer victim gets. You know, it's a bit weird. But all through all of it, my only stipulation was that I am not having a bag. Doesn't fit with my lifestyle, doesn't fit with my clothes. And the doctor was like, oh, well, you know, no, sorry, not going to happen. I was really lucky. The surgeon that I had was amazing. And all's good. All's good with the cancer. But like I say, it's not the same for everyone. You know, some people it affects differently. For me, it was just a situation in my life that I didn't really want. I think luckily for me,
but again, you have a balanced outlook on things, which is really refreshing, because a lot of us, we get stuck in that, oh, woe is me. Why did it happen to me? Why does it always happen to me? A lot of us can get stuck. You know, a lot of people do get stuck in that, and it's understandable, depending on, you know, the way they've been. Because you must have had some amazing role models and inspirational people who inspired you and the way that you live your life.
Do you know, it's really funny. I have a few role models in my life, but not parentally or anything like that, because my parents moved to the Isle of Wight when I was 18, so I didn't really see them very much, and then they both died since, subsequently died. I haven't got any siblings. Well, I have, but I haven't seen her for I don't know how long. But so I haven't really got any family sort of role models or anything, but I've come across a lot of people in my life that I just think to myself, yeah, they've got their shit sewn up, you know. And I'm not an anxious person. I'm not a depressive person, because you're only getting one shot at this. There's no, if you get it wrong, you can't come back and do it again. It's literally, you've got one shot at it. Make the best of it. You know, we're all handed different decks of cards, but from the day you're born, you start dying. That's the long short of it. No one knows when that's going to end. But, you know, it's, for some sad people, it's when they're very young. For some people, it's when they're very old. For some people, it's in the middle. None of us know, which is refreshing. But at the same time, you've got to make the most of every day. You know, you just have to make the most of it.
So what happened to you recently then? Because obviously I know, but if you could explain.
Well, what happened to me recently was I work for the most amazing company and I get the most amazing opportunities. And the opportunity that was given to me this time was a trip to Africa. Mark came with me as well. There was 22 of us went on this amazing trip. It was ridiculous. We went to South Africa, Botswana and Zambia, all first class, all. It was just, I can't even begin to explain. It was just life-changing. And out of the 22 of us, I'm the only one that doesn't drink. So I don't drink alcohol at all and haven't done for 30 odd years, and I don't smoke. So, but I also don't keep fit either, so I'm not the fittest person. But so I don't drink alcohol. So I come back from Africa as still the only sober person, and I contracted dysentery, 2 blood diseases, and E-coli.
You don't do things by half, do you, Trace?
No, but the only person out of 22. So now I think maybe I should drink alcohol, because I'm the only person that got it. And we were all eating the same thing. We were all together the whole time and everything else. So the day we actually landed, I ended up in Mayday again, and then we to the Tropical Disease Hospital. And I've got to be honest, it was the worst time of my life. I actually believed I was going to die from this. I've never felt so much pain. I've never felt so scared. And again, it wasn't depressing. It was scary. It was really, really scary. I've never felt so ill in all my life. Much worse than cancer. Much, much worse than the cancer. Well, my cancer, not cancer generally. Yeah, it was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And then obviously we went into lockdown. So I had plenty of time to recover. That was... the 9th of March we flew back, and that was when I fell ill, and it lasted probably a month.
Because I was like, hang on, something's not right with Tracie here, because usually there's a post or something from you on Facebook or Instagram, and I was like, not heard from Tracie. So
do you know what, Manjit?
And so on. It was like, what's going on?
I couldn't pick up my phone. It was too heavy. It was too heavy. I couldn't string a sentence together. 3 words was probably the most that I could get out at any one time. I couldn't stand. I couldn't do anything. But I could not lift my phone up. It was too heavy to hold, and I couldn't have thought straight anyway to put any sort of post on. And that went on for a long time. For me, for someone who's always active on social media and always on the phone to people and blah blah blah, it was really, really unusual. It made a lot of people sort of get in touch with me to say, what's wrong, I haven't seen you, I haven't heard from you, blah blah blah, because I'm always putting silly memes on and things like that. But it was really, really scary. But again, you know, the Tropical Disease Hospital, which is up in Tottenham Court Road, which I didn't even know about, they were amazing. And it's all NHS. It was amazing. But yeah, it was one of those diseases that I had to fight myself, because the antibiotics, I was so ill, the antibiotics probably would have killed me. And so it was like, your own body's got to just get your way through this. And it was terrifying. I've never been so, that's the first time in my life I actually believed I might die. And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, I've got to write letters to my kids. I can't even pick a pen up, you know. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, to me, there's nothing I've got to say to my kids I haven't already said. They already know, and my friends, you know, everyone knows how I feel, because it's not something I've ever hidden. So that side of it is fine. But yeah, it was a terrifying ordeal, I must admit. Yeah, so I won't be going back to Africa anytime soon.
You are an open book, though. You know, you literally are an open book. I was also a little bit intimidated by you as well, because there was this lady, larger than life, bright pink nails, beautiful blonde hair, really loud colour suits, which is what I loved. And I'm Indian. I mean, I love loud. I know I'm wearing brown today, but I love loud colours anyway. So, but there was this woman who, loud laugh, you know, everybody was just like, around you buzzed when you're just this massive ball of energy, which you are, and you spread that energy wherever you go. I don't know if you really understand the impact you have on people around you because of the way you are. And even when you're quiet, you've got this like aura, this energy that just like goes out to people and kind of gives you a big hug. I don't know if you realise what you do.
Lovely. No, I don't. But I mean, I do always get the feedback that I always get is that I'm scary. It's really weird, and people, that's generally from people that really don't know me, because I'm soft as soap, really. But it's weird. I mean, I go through life and I hate, my biggest hate is bullies. I absolutely detest bullying of any sort. And the problem is, I mean, take for example Telewest, like United Artists. When we were there, you've got this whole pool of people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all religions, you name it. There was just everyone in there, wasn't there? There was this pool of people, boys and girls, and we were all together. And you've got the people like me that are loud and always get noticed, and, you know, you've got something to say, you say it. And then you've got the other people that sort of sit there and they're quiet and they just get on with their work, which in all honesty, back then you were very quiet, very withdrawn, very quiet. And yeah, and I think as well, it's kind of like everyone's got something about them. It's not the same as everyone else, but everyone's got something about them. And whether it be that they can mix with anyone, you know, it doesn't matter who they are, it doesn't matter what room you put them in, they'll be fine. Whether it be that they're very quiet and reserved, but when you get to know them, they're just a lovely person that's got so many capabilities, but absolutely no belief in themselves. And these are the type of people that they sit there and they just blend into the background. And if you're not careful, they stay there. And it's so sad, because it's such a waste. It is such a waste. And I think it's just a case of making everyone realise that it doesn't matter if you're quiet, loud, brash, posh, common. It doesn't matter what you are. We're all going to go out in the same wooden box. We all came in the same way, we're all going out the same way. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. And the one thing with money that I do have a big issue with is it can't buy you health. It can buy you anything you want. And I know people say, you know, money doesn't bother me. Well, I would much rather cry in a Porsche than I would a Fiat 500. So yeah, money is important. We all want nice things. You know, we all want to be successful in some way, shape or form. I don't need a swimming pool in my garden or a tennis court or anything else. I don't need anything like that. But I do want a nice house, and I do want to know that I've worked hard for it, you know. But at the same time, it's really difficult to make people understand. None of it matters. Where you come from, where you're going, where you've been, your story is completely irrelevant. It's who you are today.
Yeah.
It's who you are today, and it's where you can be with the abilities you've got. And everybody has got something about them. You know, some people are intelligent, not me, but some people are intelligent.
Oh, no, stop knocking. I know how you are. You hide behind that facade. There's an amazingly intelligent woman behind that. I know. You wouldn't have got to where you are if you weren't intelligent.
No, I had a very good education. I was very lucky. So I went to a girls' grammar school and it was a good education. But at the same time, I've got a South London accent. And a lot of people read your South London accent as your ability to do a job. And this is what I'm saying. I've always had this thing. Normally I'm trying really hard, but normally I swear like a trooper. I've got a mouth like a potty. But I've always had a South London accent. Always. And it's been a big drag. Throughout my life, it's been a problem because people presume with that accent, well, everyone presumes I'm from Essex anyway, but it's not. It's a South London accent. And they actually presume that you're as thick as two short planks because you've got that South London. And it is true. And that's what people's perceptions. And I don't have perceptions of people. And I'm not a great judge of character. I have to be honest. I'm actually a crap judge of character. I like everybody. And, you know, over time, it's quite disappointing sometimes because you think, oh, I thought they were a really nice person. They're actually an arse. But it doesn't matter. At least you give them a chance, you know. But generally, I like everybody. If I don't like someone on site, which is really unusual for me, normally I'm right, just because I'm so rubbish. So generally, I'll just steer clear of that person. But in my life, I have such a big social group, and they are so very different. And you know, some people say you have to keep that group away from that group because they're no. But they're all the same. They're just people, and that's what we all are. And my biggest advice to anybody in life is to listen, because like now I'm speaking, and I'm speaking because I'm speaking about what I know or what I believe or what I understand. If I listen, I'll learn something new. And this is where people make a big mistake. You know, like people like me, I talk and talk and talk and talk. If I was to shut up for 2 minutes and listen, what I'm actually going to be listening to is something that I probably don't know.
Yeah.
And so listening is probably the biggest benefit that people can have. And listening to all sorts of people as well, because people are really, really interesting.
Well, I agree with you, because the mix of people that we had, United Artists were back then in customer services, which is where I first started out, was you had all walks of life there. Yeah. Colour, creed, denomination, faith. It was a huge mix of people. Not saying that everybody got on, but generally speaking, it was a good atmosphere to be in. And one of the things I loved about having you as my team leader supervisor, you were never my team leader, you were always my supervisor, is that it's like you said, you see things in people. And a lot of people watching this probably won't believe how quiet I used to be, because I was. Oh
God, you were so quiet and so insecure in your own way. You know, you were actually had no belief in yourself whatsoever. But you were very quiet. But you also weren't really that outgoing in any way, shape or form. Even when people did talk to you, you were a very closed book. You were quite nervous, to be honest.
I didn't realise I was that quiet.
Oh, you were. Yeah, you were. Until you got to know people and until you started believing in yourself. Yeah. And then you did become a bit of the life and soul of the party. You were a bit gobby, actually, after that. No, not really.
No, people like yourself, and there's a few other people I'm going to talk to as well, who from that era, who've actually helped me on the way to where I am now. And it's those memories of people actually taking the time, I'm getting quite emotional now, people actually taking the time to get to know me, the person, and not just, just another employee, just another one of my team. And the fact that you do that day in, I know you still do it, because it's part of who you are. And some of those traits that you have kind of rubbed off on me, or maybe they were there and I didn't realise them, because I do similar sort of things myself. When I'm delivering my training, is that I'll see, okay, that person's quiet. Why are they quiet? Let me see if I can ask them a couple of questions. Don't want them to feel uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden they start to open up. So it's a lot of things like that I picked up from the likes of yourself, from Alison Daly, from Toya, Roger Sims, Roy Farrow, all of these people that supported me and challenged me as well. You guys pushed me without shoving me. You pushed me out of my comfort zone. I followed you into business operations. I don't know if you ever knew this, But you inspired me to leave the residential side of the business to move over to the business side of the business.
No, I didn't know that. But this is when you were coming into your own, you see. So from residential, where you were growing as a person, and you were very, very, very good at what you did. Very good. And so your success was a lot of it was not you as a person, it was people realising what you were capable of. Once people were realising what you were capable of, you started realising what you were capable of. And so the world started becoming your oyster. Rather than sitting in the corner being quiet, all of a sudden it was like, actually, I can do this. I can do this. I have the ability. I have the knowledge. I have the capability. I just have to tell other people. And that's when you started pushing yourself forward. Like, actually, no, I'll apply for that job. I'll apply, can I be promoted? That sort of thing. And that's when you started coming into your own. And that's when you grew, not only as a person, but you grew in confidence. And because your actual ability was becoming sought after, so people did want you in their teams, and then you started working even harder on your abilities, and you just got better and better. And I think that's what's seen you through life, is your own belief in your abilities, because sitting there taking phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was when we were doing the night shifts about someone with their cable guide wasn't really your bag. But we've all got to start somewhere, and the same with me. And many a time we would sit on those desks taking the irate customer calls, and it was like, oh my God, you need to calm down, mate. It's really, in the grand scheme of things, it's not important.
It's just cable TV. That's all
it's just cable TV. Calm down. But we started there, and that meant that we knew the business. We actually understood the business, which then gives you the ability to move on. And then when we started, as not many people probably realise, we only sold cable TV, and then we bought telecoms out. And that's where we started getting into our own, because all of a sudden we were women in a man's world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember many an appointment I'd go on when we were in telecoms, and it would be, I was expecting a man. So I was like, sorry, why? Because I've got technical queries. Oh, don't worry, if I can't answer the question, I'll find a man that can. I mean, seriously, it was the most ridiculous industry in the early days. And I spent nearly 30 years in telecoms before I moved on to business services. And I know you did. It was a tough industry, but it meant that we had to shout louder. It meant that we had to be better, and it meant that we had to try harder. And I think that's where you've eventually got to today, is that you've proved yourself to not just yourself, to everyone.
Well, do you know what? This is a conversation not about me. This is supposed to be about you.
No, but it is. It's about us, isn't it? It's about.
Appreciate it.
No, it's about us. It's about people, and it's about everyone has the capabilities inside them. It just depends what they want to do with them. You could still be sitting in a corner taking calls about, magazines or whatever, but you're not.
No.
And no one has done that apart from you, and that's the same for all of us. Other people can inspire you. Yes, I understand what you're saying, but only you can do it.
Yeah, you've got to have it's got to come from inside. There's, I've been on a training course recently. If you need to be motivated to do something, it's not a priority for you.
No.
You do it because you want to do it. You do it because it comes from inside. It's your calling, your purpose, your mission. It's something that you're driven to do. Yeah.
And I've always believed in all of our jobs, we've both always had jobs that we've stayed at for a long time. And in every single one of my jobs, I could honestly put my hand up and say, I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Had a passion for it, believed in it. I've always loved the people that I've worked with throughout the years. And a lot of I've got an old boss, Alan Traeger, actually, who is a South African guy at Cable Telecom. And he was Marmite. You either loved him or you hated him. For me, he was the most inspirational salesperson I've ever seen. He was the MD, actually, but if you're a salesperson, you're a salesperson underneath it all. And those type of people, along the way, everyone teaches you something different. It depends which bits you take forward and which bits you don't. And you've taken forward the people. Do you know what I mean? You're same as me. I've always loved people.
Yeah.
And I think you can, if you decided tomorrow not to do service management anymore, you would do something else with people.
Yeah, I switched, didn't I, from being the service management trainer, switched from being a service management manager to being a service management trainer. It's in my DNA.
Yeah.
It's like, if you cut my head off, you'll see service management all the way through.
Well, you'll see people.
Yeah.
People person. And people are probably the easiest people to employ, because they don't judge.
Yeah, and this is what I like. You know, one of the things I love about you so much is because you have never ever judged me or anybody else in the teams that were involved in the early days at TeleWest, and then when we went to business operations and so on, and then even, you know, and I know the organisations that you've been to as well. Same with myself. Like, you know, we've gone like that, but we come in, then we go like that, and then we come back again. It's all about that.
And also, if you think how many people we're still in touch with from way back, you know, both of us are still in touch with everyone that we worked with virtually through every company, and that's because we're people. And you know, if people were to realise that we're all the same, and if you keep in touch with people through life, it's all a big circle. It all comes back round. We all might go in different directions, but we're all in the same circle. Still.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You know, this has been an amazing conversation. It's taken a turn that I didn't expect it to take, but then that's what happens between friends. Conversations go off in different directions. Yeah. So thank you so much. I want to thank you for coming on. And
I've really enjoyed it, actually.
Good. And just being open and sharing, you know, your thoughts and your life, where it was to where it is now. Yeah. And I know you're in a really good place. I mean, your girls are amazing. Actually, can we just have a quick word about your girls? Because I think they're fantastic.
They're amazing. So Kerry is a police officer, and she's married to a police sergeant in Croydon. They've got 2 daughters. So I've got 2 granddaughters there. Indy is nearly 8 and Darcy's 3. She's feral, but she's gorgeous. And then I've got Christopher, who's an MOT tester and service management person in Harwood's down in Bristol. He's married, and he's got a daughter, Millie, who's nearly 9. And then my youngest daughter, Chelsea, she did 12 years service in the RAF. Went to Afghanistan a couple of times. She's been to Lebanon. She's been to quite a few places. She's left now. She's got a daughter, Macy, who's the eldest granddaughter, who's 10 next month. And every one of them are genuinely hardworking. Never been out of work, any of them. Genuinely hardworking, kind people. Maybe not Kerry so much. She's harder. She's harder than the rest, but she's underneath. She's the kindest person and the most generous person. But they're all good people, and all the grandchildren are good kids. They're just nice people. And to be honest, I don't give a shit about anything else as long as they're kind. Yeah, they're good people, and it means the world to me. I rule them with a rod of iron, always have done. And even now, Kerry and Christopher are going to be 38 this year. And if I say jump, I still expect them to ask me how high I would like that. And respect is probably the biggest thing.
Are you sure you're Indian really somewhere deep down in there? Because Indian parents are just like that. I'm nearly 53. My dad still rules the roost. If he says jump, you say, okay, Dad. You know? Yeah. So thank you so much again, Tracie.
You're so welcome, and it's lovely to see you again, darling. And I wish you all the very best.
Well, thank you for joining us and listening to our little bit of a chat about how Tracie's life has evolved, how she's got to, her family's grown, her amazing children, all 3 of them, her grandchildren. Mark, I know you didn't see him, but there was a shadow of him somewhere there, getting bits and pieces. So thank you all so much for joining me. And remember to like and subscribe, and also share if you think somebody else could maybe be inspired from Tracie's story, or just have a bit of a laugh at 2 women sitting there just talking about old times. You know, that would be brilliant. So please do share with anybody you think who might find this useful, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Take care.